This is an exclusive House of Ramirez interview.
Hey guys, this is House of Ramirez. I want to thank my sister Abundance so much for taking the time to actually sit down and talk to me. Abundance, can you please let our listeners, our readers, and our viewers know where you're from and who Abundance is?
Yeah, so I am from New York. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Grew up in Brooklyn, raised in Brooklyn. I am an Afro-vegan chef. I make vegan soul food as well as being a holistic healer for my community. I am also a published model and a photographer.
Nice. Yeah. So I was just up at New York and the love is real. Of course, down south we have this whole smile and wave at everybody type of feeling, which is not the same up north. But the love is definitely real up north. And I just want to shout out everybody that, accepted me with open arms when I went up there, my sisters, my brothers. And it's a beautiful place. It's an amazing world. It's a whole different world, like nothing I've ever experienced before. And the fact that you have that beautiful upbringing, and now you have this creative way of giving back to our communities. Holistic healing is what we all need. A lot of people nowadays are like, we need more rules, we need more laws, we need more prisons or more. No, we need a natural way of healing ourselves, and what you're doing is amazing. And that's just a part of what you do. You're an Afro vegan chef, and you know that the vegan community is popping right now. Like that's the wave.
Definitely. I'm definitely blessed to have been given the gift of creating, because not everybody, I think we all have gifts, but I think specific people are chosen to spread their light through creativity. And it's a blessing, honestly. Like, I can't see myself doing anything else, to be honest with you. I'm very self-sufficient and very independent. So the chef thing kind of came about because I'm Nigerian, I'm African. I was in college and I was like, okay, well, I really want to be healthier just because of mindset wise, like I'm first generation. So I was first to go to college in my family. And after going to college, like, and learning about all these things about African people all over the world, the diaspora, and learning how we face environmental racism, systematic racism everywhere, and learning how food deserts and lack of proper food affects Black and brown people everywhere. I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to go deeper into this. Like, I want to learn, like, why, like, how come growing up in Harlem, I would see delis and delis all over everywhere in New York. I don't know when you came if you saw, but there's delis everywhere. Like, as soon as you step out an apartment, there's a deli across the street. There's a deli up the block. There's like a deli down the street. There's a Chinese restaurant, but there's no like salad shop. There's no juice spot unless you go to like First Avenue, which is where it's gentrified. So with that, I was like, okay, well, I want to be able to go vegan, but still keep the cultural influence of my people. So like, I'm like, okay, I want to be healthy, but I want healthy food. I want it to be seasoned. I want it to taste like my grandma's cooking. So how am I going to do this? I started researching Dr. Sebi, started researching women in South Africa who started movements for food because they couldn't get food. I was like, okay, well, I want to take what my ancestors have done and take it to the next level, because it's really just about legacy and just keeping up the legacy of Black women and of Black people. So I was like, well, I'm going to bring this to my college, and it just took off from there. So I've been doing it ever since. So I'm blessed.
Yeah, you truly are, and you're not greedy with it. You're so humble with it, and you're not greedy with it. You want others to actually benefit of being in tune to what they're putting in their bodies. And it's so much deeper than to just watch what you eat. It's also seeing how everything, like you mentioned, is set up for us to eat bogus food. 2020 is opening up a lot of eyes, a lot of, third eyes. Like, wait a minute. Like, I'm not an accountant anymore. I'm good at this, And we need to pay attention. We were all placed on this earth for a purpose, and we need to pay attention as to what that is, so we could be a great version of ourselves, continue to evolve, and also help people around us. That's what it's all about, helping others. It's like I told you, you're not greedy with it. You want us to be healthy. You want us to be healed and conscious. And that's what it's about.
Yes, definitely.
So I have a question for you. Like, who have been some of your great mentors or inspirations along your journey?
Definitely. I would definitely say, I have a couple. They're primarily Black women, of course. Definitely my mom and my grandma, because growing up, I was able to see their strength, but also the trauma that they went through as Black women. And I was able to take from that how I want to grow into my womanhood and break generational curses for my family. So shout out to them. Definitely Dr. Sebi. He was, even though his spirit is still with us, he was a holistic practitioner. He spoke about the importance of an alkaline diet and an alkaline regime for the body. And I actually started my business because of him, and Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle is definitely an inspiration to me. As soon as he passed, I did my first pop-up, actually, because I was like, okay, well, I need to spread the truth, because a lot of our prophets are being killed for speaking the truth. So Nipsey Hussle, for sure, for his self-made mentality, his aura, his dedication to the community. Who else? I have a lot of inspirations. I would definitely say my people, for sure, as a whole, just because we have greatness instilled in us from jump. And we've derailed a little bit, but it's still there. So just making sure that foundation is concrete is important to me. I would definitely say also other Black women who are aiming to be the best versions of themselves in a healed and in a beautiful way, honestly, because that's inspirational to me, to see someone being their authentic self and being them regardless of what's going on in the world. I also follow, now we're going to jump to like social media people. So there's this healer in Los Angeles. She goes by the Hood Healer. She is an amazing inspiration to me. She helped me get on track, very on track, like with myself, so that I'm able to confront myself. As 2020 showed us, that it's important to confront oneself in order to be able to proceed properly. Because she's definitely someone who pushes people to see what they refuse to see. You know what I mean? A lot of us like to stay hidden from our shadow side, or to stay hidden from the truth, really. And that can definitely hold you back, because if you don't like look at that, you'll be going through your whole life without knowing who you truly are. It's a matter of yin and yang, and she was able to show me that within myself to this day, actually. Yeah, those are a couple people.
Good. What I took from all that, you pay attention to detail, and
Definitely.
you appreciate others, especially women, that men too, but women that actually are striving to be a better version of themselves. And I think that we have lacked that for so long, where instead of noticing another brown or Black sister's growth, we deteriorated with, like you were mentioning, there's in certain families, certain communities, there's generational curses where gossip is the thing. And instead of uplifting, we deteriorate somebody's growth or attempt to grow. And you're the complete opposite of the negative aspect of that. You're actually becoming a better version of yourself, and encouraging and paying attention to the women around you, around all of us that are striving to be a better version. And I think that that's very important. We need encouragement, especially amongst us women. We are not in competition with ourselves or with others. We are actually our sisters' keepers. We can help uplift. We can see you grow and encourage you to keep doing it. And if we see something that we can help you with, then we can offer to help you continue to grow. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Unity is the thing. That's what I'm stressing this year as we come to the near end of 2020. Unity is the only thing that's going to keep us sane in all this craziness. You know, we are constantly told to be divided, whether through media, propaganda, the things we listen, the things we see, is division, division, division. And we have to unify. We have to strengthen in numbers. We have to come together, uplift. And especially when you're doing it in a very healthy manner, that's what's going to really set it pure unity, you know?
Thank you, because I don't hear that often. And that's something I've had to kind of zone out, but recently I've been zoning into it. I was having this conversation with my loctician actually yesterday. It's crazy because everything always comes full circle. And a lawyer that I met, and we're all Black women, and we were talking about how often as Black women we don't get praised, and when we do, it's very like condescending, or it's very tokenized in a way. And with my business, I've been through a lot, like being a business owner, a Black woman business owner, and a queer woman. It's been very trying, I will definitely say. And I'm never going to quit this, but I've definitely had to step back to step into myself, kind of. And I noticed that when I was able to do that, not only does the food taste better, but my connections with people grow better, if that makes sense. So as stated, I'm very grateful for this. And I know that any warrior is going to go through battles. So I'm very excited, honestly, for what the future has to bring, because my past has been very rocky, but it's been successful. And I know that as I grow, as I'm only 22, so I know as I grow that this will grow with me. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. And there's always going to be challenges. And yes, at times we get compliments and they're not full-blown compliments. You know, they're, like ill-intentioned, kind of like you mentioned, condescending compliments. And at times we don't even know how to take it because it's like, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's important that we're genuine when we do everything, when we say everything, even when giving compliments to our sisters, even to our brothers, to our family members, our community. It uplifts. It keeps the fuel going to what you're doing. And we need that. So it's like you mentioned, it's a full circle. I pour into you and you pour back into us. So, but I just call it how I see it,
Yes.
I want to ask you, like, at what point in life, at what point did you feel like it was time to make a pivotal moment? Like, have you always been vegan?
I haven't always been vegan. I would say like my mom had like a vegetarian influence. I stated my whole family is like African. So within West African culture, our food is primarily veggies, but we add meat. So we'll add like goat or turkey or like fowl, which is like the African chicken. Like it's like a hard type of chicken. So my mom was always like healthy and into like herbs and stuff like that, but she never like full blown went vegan. But like growing up, she would make me smoothies like before school, like super healthy household. Even when we were like eating meat, we had a great balance, like going back to that yin and yang. So Going to college, I majored in Africana studies with a specialization in hip hop, and I minored in women's and gender studies. So I was learning a lot about the diaspora and how Black women are affected throughout the world. And then I, closer to the end of my degree, I've focused more so on Black health and Black trauma, and how that relates to our impact throughout culture, society, fashion, and things like that. So I started to learn about my ancestors. I started to learn about Dr. Sebi. I started to learn about Fannie Lou Hamer. I started to learn about people who were resistant to the mainstream, pretty much. And once I started to do that, and I started to do more self-research, it became a matter of just being so engulfed and loving what I was learning that I was like, okay, well, I don't want to just read about this. I kind of want to take it further, and I want to start living it. So that's how I kind of stepped into my purpose. And then with that, things just kind of started to flow. Like I started to meet, I met a vegan chef in Brooklyn, and I met other vegans, and we started to like find restaurants throughout New York City that were vegan. So then I went basically food blogging. I started to food blog on my social media about different vegan restaurants in New York that were cultural. So after that, because my friend he was already vegan, and I was like, okay, well, that's amazing. Like, and I would see him cook and stuff like that. And I would be like, okay, well, that's really interesting, but like, is the food good? Like, that's always what I would wonder, because in my culture, we season our food very well. Like African food, you know, if anyone has had African food, they know like African food is it, like from the spices to just the natural flavors. Like, you know what I mean? It's to the point where you have to go to a certain market to get certain certain
ingredients,
items,
spices.
ingredients for African food. So I was like, okay, well, and he was Dominican, the chef that I met, the vegan chef. So his culture also has certain spices and flavors. And I was like, well, he's chefing that up, and it's like, it's good. Like, so I was like, okay, well, let's see. Like, and then he started to help me educate and see like what it was really about. And then he started to show me documentaries. But he didn't go about it in like a forceful way, like, which I really respected, because as stated, I'm Nigerian, but I was raised in New York. So I'm very in touch and in tune with the hood culture. And he is as well. So when I was able to see, okay, my homie's Dominican, vegan, and he still lives in like the hood. So I was like, okay, well, this is possible. So let me really see what it's about. And then he showed me the documentary, What the Health. And that is what sparked me. After of course, I was watching like Dr. Sebi videos and learning the true importance of alkaline living and how certain herbs and what we eat affects our brain, but also like everything else. You know what I mean? What you put into your body affects who you are as a being. So once I started watching What the Health, and I saw this part, it wasn't necessarily like, yes, it was the facts about the dairy industry and like cheese and stuff like that. But there was this part of the documentary, and it was about a Black family who lives on a farm. They own their own farm. They literally grow all their own vegetables and stuff like that. And they were talking about how the factory next door to them deals with so much waste to the point where the smoke of the waste is carrying over to their food. And I was like, what? Like, this happens to people? Like, and then I started to do more research, how like down south, that's the thing, and how it gets worse. I was like, whoa, like this is the environmental racism that people are not talking about. Like, this is not being exposed enough. Like, it's literally because people want to stay closed-minded. Talking about this with someone else, like, I actually don't even like using the word vegan anymore, because I mainly stay plant-based now, because like it's a trend and it has a lot of politics. But anyways, yeah, once I saw that, I was like, okay, well, I need to see like what's actually going on with this environmental racism thing. And I was like, okay, well, now I really want to make a conscious change. So I stopped eating meat, but I was still eating like Doritos. Like I was eating like small little like little processed foods like candy, Doritos, like things like that. And then I learned about the artificial flavors that they put in candy. And then I learned about like how dairy like clogs your pores and we're not even supposed to be eating dairy. And then once I noticed that dairy was connected to my acne, I was like, okay, well, I don't really want to be eating that anymore. So then after that, it kind of just flowed. Like after that was like my first year going vegan. Second year, I was still doing more research because I was in school. I was learning more about like just different types of veganism, like Afro veganism, like veganism in Asia. Like I was just doing different types of research to see like how does this relate to my overall goal of wanting to help my community. Then Thanksgiving came about in what was that, 2018? And I was in school and I was sitting down with friends in like the pit of our college. And then they like left. And then I was still sitting there and I was thinking, I was like, well, what if I like come up with a menu of, cause it was Thanksgiving time and I wanted to go home, but I was like, my whole family is African. Like, what am I going to eat for Thanksgiving? Like, I don't want to be like the weird thumb, like the sore thumb. So then my mom called my grandma and my grandma was like, well, we can make the same things, just vegan. Like, so she was pretty much like, find the substitutes that you want to find and then we can make it together. And I was like, okay, no problem. Well, I love your mac and cheese. So I want the mac and cheese. I want cornbread. And my grandma makes these amazing ribs. So I was like, well, I want ribs too. So then I looked it up online and I was like, okay, well, there's different like vegan substitutes for these things. Like I learned about jackfruit and then jackfruit just changed my life. I was like, okay, well, this can work. So I brought all the ingredients to my grandma's house. The whole family was there. First thing we made was the mac and cheese. So I've got like different vegan cheeses and I was like, okay, well, we're going to do this. So after it came out the oven, my family actually loved it. And I was like, wow, like, can y'all leave me some? Like, this is for me and y'all are eating my food. Like you don't have your own food. So I was like, wow, if it's popping off like this, let me see. Like, so then I took it back to college and I made a menu like on Canva, like a quick menu. I was like, okay, well, there's a couple things I know I can make. I can make vegan jerk chicken. I can make vegan baked mac and cheese. I can make cornbread, ribs, and greens. That's what my grandma like blessed me with the recipes for. Well, besides the jerk chicken, but everything else, she was like, well, this is how I make it. My mom was like, well, this is how grandma makes it. So just see if you can make it. And I was like, okay, well, and that's kind of what pivoted me because my grandma never, like, yes, I would help my grandma in the kitchen, but she never gave me her recipes. So when my mom was like, well, let me ask grandma, I was like, oh, wow, like this is, you know, this is like legacy. This is the Black woman legacy that's in the family. So I was like, wow, okay, like, this is it. So once I made the menu and I shared it in school, people just bought up plates. Like I was making plates out of my college kitchen, like the communal kitchen. And I was like, wow, okay, like this, the response was crazy. Like I did not expect any of that. Like I made about 30 plates my first menu. It was crazy. Like, and I was just jerk chicken. People were mainly buying jerk chicken and the mac and cheese. Like my peers. And I was like, okay, well, I can't stop it now. Like people like would ask me, they're like, okay, so when's your next place? And I would be posting it on my story, like when I'm cooking. And they're like, is that vegan jerk chicken because I make like a mock skin, like a mock chicken skin. And they were like, I need to try that. And then I was like, well, I'm not necessarily Caribbean. I'm African. I was like, well, I'm not Jamaican, Trini, Haitian. So I don't know, like I know spice, but I don't know jerk like that. So I was like, well, I want my Jamaican friend to taste it, to tell me what he thinks. So, and that was when I was still stuck in wanting approval from others, of course, you know. So he tried it and he was like, yeah, this is it. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna start selling it now. So after that, it kind of just took off. And from then, I graduated school early. So it was after school, I kind of it wasn't even a matter of like, oh, what job am I gonna do, or like who am I gonna work for, because I've tried working with other people before, and it just doesn't work out. Like, it's not for me. Like, I'm too much of an artistic, eclectic individual that I can't be in someone else's office. Like, it just doesn't work. So I was like, well, I took like a month off, like to go home, to reconnect, to get regrounded, to live with my dad. And I was talking to him about everything, because he would see me in the kitchen every day, like till like 4 a.m. And my African dad, he was like, what's going on? Like, why are you up cooking all the time? And I'm like, I love this. Like, I cannot stop cooking for people. Like, and then he just advised me. He was like, well, manage your time better so that you're able to produce better and stuff like that. And like, just make sure that you're profiting, you know what I mean? Giving me good advice. And I was like, okay, well, you know, let me take this into consideration, because my father does have a business mindset. So after that, it was just like, I just continuously kept making menus. And then around April, I think that's actually when the pandemic started, or like March or so, my business reached a peak. Like, it was a huge influx. I was like, whoa, like I had over like 300 orders just from social media promotion, by myself, because like no one else like really helps me promote, unless people like retweet and stuff like that. I made a menu called Abundance April, because I wanted people to step into their abundance. So I made like this huge menu with different menu items, like different vegan snacks and vegan like platters. And then that's when I started to ship throughout the world. Wow. I shipped to like Texas. I even shipped to Japan once. Wow. The food got to her spoiled, but I was like, dang, like, but it was still amazing. You know what I mean? It was still an amazing, like, it's trial and error with this. So it was amazing. Like, she gave me feedback, and it was very helpful, because the next person I was able to ship to in China, they actually got their food on time, and it wasn't spoiled. So I was like, okay, good. So now I can ship international. But I shipped to Texas, like California, everywhere. And then that's when people noticed that I was in New York, and they were like, please travel. Like, you need to travel. Like, come. People were asking, like, please come to Atlanta, please come to Texas. We don't have food like this. We have vegan food, but it's not like that, and your food looks really good. I need to try it. I was like, okay, well, I need to, because at the time, like during a lot of this, I didn't really have a home. Like, I had like differences with my family, because, you know, as you grow, sometimes some people, I feel as though our family members, especially our older ones, are stuck in their mindset from their time. And I learned that that's literally because as their offspring, pretty much, like, we don't have the duty, but it is, we kind of lead the pace. You know what I mean? We're supposed to take off where they stopped, if that makes sense. Like, I know my mom has certain dreams that she sees me fulfilling, and she's like, wow, like, I wanted to do that when I was your age. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what comes with it. So I had like a little strife with my family. So sometimes I wouldn't have a place to stay, but I would still be cooking. Like, I would go to my friend's house and be like, sis, can I cook? And she's like, yeah, just come. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. So like, I was doing it in the midst of like homelessness, in the midst of being in school, like, and having everything going on. And I was like, well, I'm really like for this. And sometimes, like, as hard as I work, I'm not able to see it, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's many artists, until other people are like, you're really doing the damn thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. Like, for real, because I'm so stuck in my head of, okay, what am I about to cook? And like, when am I going to ship this? And like, what am I going to do? So after people like asked me to start traveling, I was like, okay, well, I was able to get enough money to get my own place. And then I recently started like a US tour. And I was like, well, no one else is doing like a food tour in the midst of a pandemic. So this is monumental. Like, this is very life-changing. So I traveled to Atlanta, and it was amazing. Like, I met different creatives there. I was able to feed the community. And then I traveled to LA, and that's actually when I started to do free vegan soul food plates. So I went to Leimert Park, which is like the area for it's like a Black hub. It's like a culture. It's like a hub for cultural people, and I was able to give out free vegan soul food. And it's just been amazing. Like now I'm back in New York and still working on catering and things for the holidays. So it's been a very uphill progression, but I definitely did not start off vegan. So yeah.
Well, it's beautiful just to hear your story. There's only much blessings headed your way. I mean, you're fully dedicated to this. You come from humble beginnings, great roots, great family members. And it's true. We tend to be like, how would I say, the black sheep at times because we're going outside of the norm, but we end up being the goat of the family.
Exactly. Exactly.
And family members tend to not really grasp or understand something they cannot see. But there's a difference between sight and there's a difference between vision. And, goats tend to have vision. And common people, regular people with regular, ways of thinking have sight. So they don't see something, they don't believe in something. And it's until you start, paving your own path and knowing who you are and excelling in that path and who you are as a person in your purpose, that you start actually giving people something to see, something tangible that they now can see. Wow, her dream is not becoming a reality. Then they become believers. Then they become people that support. As creators, as entrepreneurs, we need to focus on our goals and channel out the negative. But you create it, you do it, the right people will follow. It's very clear and evident to see that you're doing the right thing because now you're doing something that's epic. You're on the right path.
Thank you. Will do. Definitely. I definitely feel as though with this, I have learned to drown out the outside noise. It was challenging. I mean, I come from a very strong women. So yes, I'm able to take on a lot, but I've told myself, like, now that I'm within my abundance and I've stepped out of survival mode and survival living, I don't have to take on any more strength. Like, it's okay to not take on anything else. Like, as a Black woman, it's like, I already have a lot going on. Like, I don't have to be there for everybody, and I don't have to take on other people's energy, because even though, like, some people are able to see, okay, yeah, some people, like you said, some people have sight and not everyone has vision. Some people are able to see, oh, this is just the food business. Those who have vision can see I'm doing something much bigger than that. Like, and people who actually have tried the food come back because they know it's a matter of lifestyle. It's not a trend. Like, I don't do this for veganism kind of thing. Like, I do it for plant-based living because it's a mindset in a way of life type of thing. And it's a matter of, like, just making sure that the balance, making sure that I don't feed too much into what other people say, but knowing that it's important for constructive criticism. Because I stated, I've had, like, crazy things happen, like whether on the internet or in person. And just knowing and just remembering that other people's projections have nothing to do with me. Has nothing to do with me. And at the end of the day, like, I can't be stopped. Like, this cannot stop just because I've personally seen the beauty from this. I've seen people be joyful when I hand them a plate of food and try it. I've seen meat eaters look at me like, what is this? And I'm like, it's the change. It's the change. Like, it's what you've needed. You know what I mean? Like, so just being able to heal people in that medium and interact with people just off of food and culture in general, because usually when I interact with people, it's about the food, but then they're able to, like, pick up on details like, oh, you dress really nice. Like, what does that have to do with this? And then we start talking and having conversation. And it's like, okay, like, now I could really spit some knowledge to you. You know what I mean? And we could really talk about things and really evolve, because that's really what it's about. So I'm grateful and just blessed to be a part of the ascension that is the Afro Renaissance, because that's what I consider is happening in this time. That's why I'm grateful for COVID, because I feel as though our diasporic people are we're tapping in. You know what I mean? We're tapping into that vision. Some of us didn't have sight. Some of us now have sight, but all of us are tapping into our different mediums, like our gift, whether it's our gifts, what we can bring to the community, whether it's fostering our own, just making sure that there is a legacy to be had. You know what I mean? So it's amazing to see, and I love it here. I'm glad to be here. Like, so.
Yeah. And we're glad to have you. Are there any pieces of advice that you'd like to give our youth that are actually, you know, and not just our youth, just anybody that's actually trying to make their own path, pave their own path into entrepreneurship? Do you have any advice?
Definitely. I would say nothing happens I know people say nothing happens in a day, but I would say nothing happens in a year, 2 years. I would say it takes work. Don't doubt yourself, even though all of us do. Like, just don't, because it's holding you back. And whatever art you have right now, drop it, release it, just drop it. Like, release the fear and be vulnerable with yourself. Because like you said, a lot of us wear a mask, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that we need to know what mask we wear to be able to know ourselves, so that our work can be more authentic. So I would say for any creative, like, just reflect on this last year. Like, what has changed? Who has come into your life? Who has stepped out of it? How have you evolved? What's different now than a month ago? You know what I mean? Like, those, like, try to look at things in the increments of 30 days. What did you do last month that's different from now? Like, you know what I mean? Or what do you want to do next month, next year, that's different from now? And remember that time is on your side, but at the same time, it's not, because time is on your side because whatever energy you're harnessing and putting into, that affects your time. And it's not on your side because you're an entrepreneur, and we need your art. We need whatever you have. You know what I mean? Like, the world is missing whatever you have to give. So don't hold it back, because we need it. And also, your name is already in rooms that you haven't even stepped into, like rooms that you haven't even dreamed about. You know what I mean? So definitely don't ever hold yourself back, and remember that things take time. So stay steadfast in anything that you're doing, especially if it's along your purpose and your passion. And remember to just remember who you are, because as stated, the outside noise can try to tell you and push you away from your path. And, you know, the weak will be strayed, but those who are called to really do what they're supposed to do will do it. So I feel like just making sure that you're steadfast within self and knowing who you are, regardless of whatever, is very important. And sticking to that, because there's could have been many times where I could have just been like, okay, like, I don't want to do this anymore, or okay, like, this person wants me to go here, so I'm going to stay here. But just remembering what I'm supposed to be doing and the importance of it, and remaining grounded and rooted in that is what has kept me where I am. So those are a couple gems that I would say are very important.
Nice. And we will take them. Thank you. I think it's important, like you said, to believe in yourself. Don't doubt yourself. We do that. It's natural. It's human characteristic to do, but don't focus on it. Don't weigh too much in it. I appreciate that. So at the end of House of RAMIREZ show, we do shout outs. Are there any shout outs you like to make?
Yes. Well, that was on the spot. I'm like, shout outs. Okay. I would definitely like to shout out Chastity London. She's a fellow queer Black woman who creates music, healing music that's really beautiful. Who else would I like to shout out? I'd like to shout out my family for showing me why my path matters. I'd like to shout out God, period, because I would not be here without God. I would like to shout out my ancestors for getting on me when they know that I'm slacking, like making sure that I'm always 10 toes. I'd like to shout out, who else? I don't know. Wow. I've never done shout outs before. So I'm like, I'd like to shout out you for having me here. Honestly, like,
Girl, stop.
for real. Like, anytime I do interviews, I'm like, thank you for seeing me. You know what I mean? For seeing why this is important. And thank you for seeing the purpose of this. You know what I mean? Yeah, shout out to all my creatives. You know what I mean? Like, we run this. Okay. Like, things may seem up and down at times, but just know that things are always on the up and up regardless. So shout out to you for living, for existing, for breathing, for having options, you know what I mean, for being alive, for choosing yourself, for choosing your art. I would say shout out to Atlanta as well. I miss you guys. I'm on my way.
H-Town.
Yes. I'm on my
that's
way.
That's where I'm at, right? That's where I'm at.
I was gonna ask you where you were at, but yeah, I was actually supposed to be in Atlanta like right now, but I'm in New York. Yeah, I was supposed to be down there to do a pop-up restaurant, but I'm gonna go in a couple weeks, just because things are gonna be playing better in a couple weeks. So right now I'm just taking time to step back and plan. Yeah, shout out Atlanta. I'll be back very soon.
Dope.
Yeah, those are my shout outs.
Yeah, thank you, sis. Well, I appreciate you, and until next time, we're here waiting for you, open arms, H.O.R shouty. I appreciate you so much, and I just want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. No problem. I appreciate you as well. Thank you for this opportunity again, and yes, blessings.
Until next time. Right.
Yes.
All right.
Make sure to follow House of Ramirez on all social media platforms.